Hey guys, what's growing? It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. If you are so inclined, please join me on a late August garden tour. So it's late August in the garden, very late August. It's the 27th. And as usual, in August, things are a complete mess. Some things have totally gone over and needs to get pulled out. There's stuff that needs to get planted. So yeah, it's a big mess. Let's go see. Okay, starting up front, this is the daffodil bed. You can see the mint and this wild blackberry. I know it's wild because it's got thorns all over it, are everywhere in here. These containers that we planted up, still looking fine. I'm just making sure I'm watering them. Once it gets a little cooler, they'll probably start flowering again. Not the lavender, but the other one. That yarrow, beautiful. I'm actually going to harvest it tomorrow for bouquets. And then this was our garlic bed this year, and I have planted some winter squashes in it, which are finally growing. It's been such a weird year, not just for me, I know it for everybody, but I'm really hoping that I actually get some. These were all direct sown. I'm really hoping I actually get some fruits off of these. Because summer squash wise, I only had 2 plants that actually produced, and they produced very little. So it's been a failure for summer squash this year, also a total failure for peppers. Blueberries, I mean, they're done for the year. These guys are looking good. This one's looking rough because it dried out a little bit and it got sunburned, but it'll be fine. I also planted winter squash over here, and they all got dug up by other animals except for 2 plants. This is actually not a winter squash, this is a melon. And I can tell by the leaves. Of course, as usual, I didn't label anything. So, I don't know. There's carrots in here and some lettuces that bolted immediately. So this bed will get flipped as well, just not quite yet. Back here is my pomegranate, and I'm quite disappointed. It flowered a lot, but 0 fruit on it. And this is the 3rd year, and I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. The blackberries though, good gravy. Look, this is one of the canes, the new cane for this year. Here's another one. The blackberries have been pumping out the berries for like months, and it's been awesome. This red seedless grape back here, there are grapes forming on it, as you can see. And there's another cluster here. Oh, but it's been eaten. So I've had a lot of vertebrate pests in the garden this year, and I haven't seen them physically, but I've seen their presence in the form of tooth marks. So the majority of my tomato harvest was taken when it was still green and hard. I've had plenty of sun golds, lots and lots of sun golds all year, but all of my bigger tomatoes, I think I only got 2. Normally I harvest them when they first start to blush so that I can avoid having other creatures take them. But whatever is in the garden, I think it might be raccoons, because there are big bites out of the tomatoes, has been taking them when they're hard and green. So yeah, that kind of stinks, but such is life. Okay, so asparagus bed, and this is an oak. Ouch. Uh-oh. That uh-oh that you heard was a bee that got stuck in my hair and then just wouldn't leave me alone once it got itself out, so I had to move away. The asparagus bed, there's a little oak sapling in there that I need to get out, but I'm not going to go over there right now because that bee is still irritated. Okay, this bed still has some potatoes in it that were rogue, that were there from the year before. I'm going to pull those up soon. It's still got some onions that are going to come up. I've been harvesting beans. I harvested a huge basket of them this morning from here, but nothing climbed. Like, I thought this whole trellis, I had envisioned the whole trellis being completely covered in beans like it usually is, and it just hasn't been. Same thing with this. I thought that this would be completely covered with my cucumbers, and as you can see, they've barely climbed at all. So yeah, it's been a rough year, but the marigolds look absolutely beautiful. This is the Joshi orange variety. I just think it's gorgeous, and that's a really long stem. I could harvest that for bouquets, but there's the gold variety over there. But I like them out here, so I think I'm gonna leave them unless I desperately need the flowers. Okay, over here is Rudbeckia triloba. I planted these from seed. They are perennials, and they'll give me many, many, many heads of flowers. And you can see, there's one right there. Here's another one. So these will be here forever, and they'll just get bigger, bigger, and bigger. And this bed is my peony bed, and there's some, weeds. Noticing weeds. Peony bed, but there are daffodils in here, so they come up in the springtime. So all of this will get cleared up, you know, spring and fall. I am continuing to weed because you don't want the weeds to take over. Pollinator garden. You can see the roses still going nuts. I need to do another hard prune because you can't really get through there very easily. But, you know, like the Spanish lavender's done, the buddleia needs to be deadheaded again. However, here's another Rudbeckia, very pretty. And this salvia is only just beginning. The first little flower there. It's big, it's real tall. It's about 5 feet. And then all this milkweed, you know, I just keep cutting it back and it keeps coming. So this is the whole, this is what I wanted here. I wanted everything to just be kind of wild and just lots of flowers intermingled. This buckwheat is doing great. So pretty. This is another cane from the blackberries, which I will weave into the fence. I'll cut it way back and weave it into the fence. I want to make sure it doesn't touch the ground here, or it will air root itself here, and I don't want a blackberry bush here. This penstemon just starting to bloom, looking pretty. So this is a plum tree. We didn't get any plums off it this year because I did a major hard prune last year. So hopefully when I do the late winter prune, it'll set us up for some fruit. Oh God, this bee. I'm not afraid of bees, but I totally know when they're telling me to back off. And that one is really far from the hive, but acting like I'm trying to break into the hive. So I may have to relocate to the backyard until later when the sun starts to set and we can come out here. Apples. I did harvest off our one apple tree that produced as a Honeycrisp, and they are very yummy. We only had 5, but this is the very first year, and so I'm fine with that. These tomatoes have been still giving plenty fruit. Now this is one tomato patch where that bee's back again. Okay, I came to the backyard. That bee kept getting into my hair and like hitting me in the forehead. Generally when a bee does that, they're about to sting. So I finally was like, that's it. Clearly it doesn't want me here. We'll come in the backyard for this part of the tour. Then we'll go back up front when it's safer. That might not even be this evening. We'll see, maybe early in the morning. Okay, so basil tower. You know, didn't do what I had hoped it would do. I mean, I've been harvesting on it, but I really wanted this to be super lush and like overflowing with basil, and it just hasn't been. It gets plenty of sun, so I don't really know why, but there you go. I did just purchase a whole bunch of new baby succulents to clean up some of these because they're, you know, some of them are diseased. Like this one never rooted, which is not dead. I mean, I just need to get it rooted. But like this is dead. This one's mostly dead. So I'm going to pull up the stuff in here that is past its prime, like this. That's going to be interesting to pull up. And replace them with new succulents. Okay, so over here, you can see the stuff that we bought at the nursery. So I'm thinking I'm going to put those Rudbeckias, right, this is going to come down soon. I just haven't taken it down yet because I want to use those stems this week in the bouquets. But I think I'm going to put these Rudbeckias right here, 2 on either side of this sprinkler head, and I think they'll look lovely back there. Just waiting for this thing to get fully ripe, and then I'll cut it down. And then these salvias and the lantana will go in the cottage garden. But, you know, getting so many sun gold tomatoes off of just these 2 plants, and I'm tying them up the best I can. They're like, I'm trying to attach them to the roof line at this point. And then this dahlia, which, as I said before, has never flowered for me before, but look how pretty. That's a couple days old. This one is just coming out. It's funny too, because when it just starts to open, it's dark red, and then it kind of becomes this pale pink, or not pale pink, but pale purple as it fades. Citrus is doing amazing. So this is a Meyer lemon, and you can see there's lots of little lemons on it and lots of blossoms. This is a key lime, and it's got some limes on it and also lots of lime blossoms. And then this is another Meyer lemon, which has lots of lemons on it and is setting up new blossoms as well. Now, I'm thrilled about this because this winter we had numerous hard frosts, and even though I kept them covered, I swear they looked like they were dead. I thought, well, I've lost them, because, you know, they're in pots, and it's really hard to keep things in pots from freezing, even when you wrap them. But with fertilizer, they seem to be doing great. So I've got fruit, and they look super healthy. Nice, dark, glossy leaves. Strawberry Tower, still producing. All I need to do is come in here and, you know, trim back some of the dying leaves and stuff. Funny thing is, though, it hasn't been sending out too many runners, which is really interesting. Normally I propagate in here by just tacking runners down into another pocket, but I think we're pretty full up, so maybe that's fine. And the herb tower, also doing fine. We've been harvesting on it. I need to come in and clean up, trim back so that we can keep getting more. This is catmint, I think. Yep. And we've got lemon balm, and I've harvested a whole bunch of mint that we've been drying for tea. It's only been a week or so since I put this ground cover in, and it's already starting to spread out, which is great. The jasmine and the lavender are doing just fine here. Okay, so into the hot mess of the August cottage garden. The lupins, still looking green in places, but I need to cut back the dead and dying stuff. There's columbines back there. So, you know, some of the stuff that I'm seeing in terms of like continued growth is great, because that means in the spring, the spring and early summer blooming flowers will be doing wonderfully. There's a verbena there. I need to cut back this feverfew again. I still haven't done any pruning in here yet, but all of the foxglove that I planted is looking great. It's taken, it's rooting in. And same with this Veronica. This Gara is beautiful. I'm going to give it a serious haircut this year because it's so tall and it's in the front of the bed, which is not where you want things like that. All the germander I need to cut back soon. The catmint I will not, though. This is because you can see the bees are very active on it, and this is still, it's very late in the day. And there's another verbena there. More columbine. These are irises. I can cut the stems back on these. They completely die back in the winter time. But it's areas like this that I'll be putting in, like there's something dead there. I'm going to pull that out and put one of those salvias in there that we got at the nursery. So something tall at the back. This is Lady's Mantle. I've had it in here for 2 years. Hasn't really done a whole lot. Like, it definitely hasn't sent up any flower spikes. Probably just a little too dry for it here. But Dusty's still doing good. I can see some yarrow in there, and then the rest is kind of like ground cover, which is fine because I don't want bare soil. And then the ivy from the hillside is creeping in, so I need to cut all that back, because once that takes hold in a bed, you're in trouble. So a lot of work to do in here. I'm hoping to tackle this in the next 2 days before my folks come, because I want it to be nice and clean and tidy when they arrive. Not that they care, but this is their first time seeing my garden, and so I really want to have it looking nice for them. Salvias back here that I transplanted, they were in containers in last year on our patio, and then at the end of the season I put them in the ground, and they've come back and they look really good, and they'll be blooming in a couple of weeks. All right, so those lantana we bought, this is the area I'm going to be putting them, because you see it's really dry. Because we haven't turned this area to drip the sprinkler heads, which there's one back there, because all this stuff is so tall, the water doesn't reach here. So I hand water here, but it's very dry. So I'm going to put the lantana in there because it'll spread and it doesn't mind dry soil. And over time, that soil will become more capable of holding water. So 2 different types of Dusty here. One is called New Look and one is, can't remember the name, but I like both of them. I love Dusty in bouquets, and I'm going to start using them this fall because that silver green color is just gorgeous. So I need to do more trimming back of the, all these spent blooms off of the lupines, because you can see this was a flower stock from this year, but here's brand new growth down here for next year. So cutting back all of the dead stalks will clean that up, make it look really nice, and then the new growth at the bottom will have more access to sunshine. So that is some of the focus in here, just cleaning up the dead stuff. This is Yarrow Summer Berries, so pretty. And then this hollyhocks have finished, and these are the seed pods, and there are lots of seeds in there. Look at that, that's all seeds. So these will spray themselves around, and hopefully we will always have hollyhocks here. These are finally climbing. The nasturtiums didn't do much, but this cardinal climber and something else. The cardinal climber is here. It's got really pretty red flowers on it. Same thing over here. These are both cardinal climber. And this one's a faded red flower. This bed, since pruning everything back, is already starting to come roaring back. This helichrysum, man, is aggressive, but it's looking good in here. I mean, it's kind of a mess. It's not tidy, but it's healthy, and that looks great. I did trim off all of these hydrangea flowers, most of them. So I just need to come in here and trim around, use the string trimmer and be very careful so I can get around here so that it's very clear. And I'll cut back with shears and stuff so that it's very clear where the plant is, so that nobody runs over it with the mower by accident. And these roses are again out of control. Time to come in and do a major pruning and wrap their stems. I've got lots and lots of pretty rose hips. Okay, so these 2 containers, which are identical, the alyssum, as you can see, is just going wild. There was a rogue, I never planted this. This was obviously put here by birds. Chocolate lace flower seed in here, so I just let it go. The clematis, died back, as they always do, but I really hope it comes back next year. I'm kind of dubious about it. Something at night is eating the tops of all of my strawberry plants, so I need to come in and cut these stems out, because they were producing strawberries really well all season. Same thing with this one over here. I mean, it's even still popping out some blossoms. It'll still give us strawberries, as long as I can keep whatever it is from eating the eating the stems. Okay, the ferns starting to, do a little bit of dieback. These actually will stick around until first frost, but you can see a bunch of detritus from earlier dieback in there. I did not come in here and clean up in the early spring like I always do, so there's still fresh new growth, but the stuff that died from last winter is still on the ground. Okay, Fire Island hydrangea. This is what these amazing blooms look like when they, look how big that is. size of my hand. This is what they look like when they age completely. They're really beautiful. Those are going to be dried flowers for me this year. We've talked about this before, but I will cut this plant back only by taking this stem here and the other two flowering stems. The rest of these will stay just like this. It'll kind of die back a little bit in the wintertime, but that new wood will be what carries the blooms for next year. Nasturtiums, I mean, they all bloomed, but they looked ragged all year. I didn't get a lush nasturtium year, and I'm not sure why. The soil is fine. It's got plenty of water. Just, you know, lackluster. Maybe it was the crazy temperatures where it was like cold and hot all over the place. The jasmine is fine. It didn't put on as much growth this year as it usually does. And again, I think that's a function of crazy temperatures all year. I have cut most of the limelight hydrangeas back. I'm using them in a bouquet. And then the albutilon back here, this guy got big. So now I can cut back those initial leaves that had a whole bunch of bug damage because it's got a lot of healthy leaves now. This euchera, still doing okay, but it definitely got some bug damage as well. And this one also going to be done soon. This euchera actually did flower. I think this pot gets more sun than the other one because that little yellow plant also flowered. And this albutilon also looking good. Hello, little babies. And here's the babies. They're gonna go hide. Yes, sweet, sweet babies. Two of them were definitely girls. The other two, not so sure. But boy, are they cute. And they're doing well. I mean, the very first morning I had that like, oh, please let them have survived the night. But they're doing good. They're drinking, they're eating, they're under the heat thing when they need to be. It is currently 82 degrees Fahrenheit in here, 28 degrees Celsius, which apparently actually is too cold for chicks. This first week, they need it to be about 95 degrees, but they'll venture out and then they go back under the brooder, just like they would a mama chick when they need some heat. Next week, I will raise it up just a little bit so that it's more like 90 degrees under there for them. And then the week after that, 85, the week after that, 80, etc., etc. And eventually we will reach the outside temperatures. But over the next couple days, it's going to get real hot, and I'm going to be needing to come in here and double check on them during the day when it's really hot because it might be too hot for them. They need the heat, but they also need to be able to get out of the heat to cool their bodies down. So if it's 95 degrees in the greenhouse, then they're going to need to have me take this somewhere a little bit cooler so they have a cool spot in their brooder and a warm spot in their brooder. Okay, I still have a lot to show you up front, but that bee is still very angry up there, so I'm going to give it some time and we'll go up maybe in another hour or so when the sun is a little lower. Maybe that will make a difference. Okay guys, it is the next day and I'm thinking the bee is gone. Or at least isn't up to bothering me because I was out here a bit today and it didn't really come and bother me. Okay, so trying to remember where I left off. So let's start with this row. Okay, so this is really funny. This corn, whatever's been eating stuff in my garden, literally shucked it on the plant and ate it right there, didn't even take it off. So I'm hoping that that won't happen to all of this corn because look how beautiful it is. I really would like to get some cobs off of it. It is now tasseling. I really, really hope that I don't lose this to pests. Okay, and you can see I am losing these dragon tongue beans to pests. Lots of eating on here. We did see some rabbits in our backyard this morning, so maybe they're up here too. So not a great year for beans. I mean, the plants grew beautifully, and here's one right here, but somebody's getting them, as well as the, see look, they knocked this down and ate the top. This is an ear of corn. I mean, a thing of corn, and see like all these have been eaten, so they won't form ears because there's no way pollen can get to them. So yeah, this is pretty much a loss. That's a bummer. I don't even know what's causing this out here. I mean, rabbits don't climb up like that. Could be squirrels, I guess, but that seems weird. Okay, still some cherry tomatoes here, and then the status is still looking lovely. I need to just go on and harvest this for drying. But today it was almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and I just wasn't gonna do it today. These peppers might actually finally start producing now that it's hot. There's some flowers on these. I don't know. We'll see. The plants look beautiful, but I don't know what we'll get. This is the second flush of feverfew, and it's already starting to look kind of aged. So, yeah, that might just come down. I know, I hear you. I do hear you. I do hear you. How you doing? How you doing? Okay, sweet potatoes looking really, really good. That's a nice patch of sweet potatoes. And even over here, the sweet potatoes are growing. This is a passion fruit vine going up the chicken coop thing here. Yeah, so I think I'll get a decent harvest of sweet potatoes, hopefully. These straw flower all pretty much need to get harvested. I'm hoping to get to that maybe tomorrow afternoon, although it's gonna be super hot again. When they look like this, they're just too far gone. That's just gone to seed. First, for drying, I'd like them to not be any further than this. So I'll come out here and take out this whole patch because I have brassicas that I want to put in that we got at the nursery the other day. But yeah, lots of straw flower. This is still my favorite color. It's got the bright yellow center here. Gosh, I just love that. I mean, the yellow's pretty, but oh, that red. And then I grew this white this year because it's always nice to have a white dried flower. And then this, ouch, they're pokey when they're dry. This Syringium was just a volunteer from last year. This is a really, really cool, fun flower to grow. So I'll probably dry this as well. It's very spiky and pokey when it's dry, but these individual little flower buds here when they're dry are really fun. Okay, so this is the area that we direct sowed on the 8th of August. So the turnips are coming up, which is great. Radishes are coming up and they're being eaten. So I think what I'm gonna do is go grab a cloche and go on and cover these guys up so we actually will have radishes. Yeah, I'll do that before I leave tonight. And then more marigolds. Just love these flowers. And you can see the tomatoes, they produced. The Romas never really got big. It's just kind of it was a tough year. It was either too hot or too cold. And the big tomatoes I did have were completely eaten off of the tree. I mean, off of the plant. So I lost most of that. These marigolds are really fun. Can't remember the variety name, but it's super fun. And then this is Nigella, all dried out now and full of seeds in there. Okay, so these tomatoes, I will probably just go on and pull out soon because they're not flowering anymore and they're pretty much done. Look at this giant stalk of corn. You know, whatever it is has been knocking these down and just eating them, right? So, like here was an ear, but it didn't form all the way, so there's nothing in there. More beans that are also getting munched on. Yep, so it's just a year for that. These are the Gold Rush, I think. And that's what they look like. Nothing growing on this trellis. We've got a grape here that at some point I'll need to trellis, but I don't have to worry about it this year. This is some kind of squash that I planted and thought was dead, but is actually still growing. Jujube. It'll be interesting to see if, I don't think we're gonna get any fruit on it this year because you can see where the flowers are, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna fruit this year, and that's okay, it's first year. That's another squash, maybe I'll get something out of it. There's another grape. Okay, elderberries. There actually were berries, and I missed them. So here's some right here left over. A bunch of garbage here. It's not really garbage, it's supplies, but it needs to all get cleaned up soon. These are all Diva dahlias. I haven't been cutting these at all. The dahlias at the farm are finally doing well. And I don't remember what variety this was because I didn't keep the label from last year. It's obviously too far gone at this point. Yeah, just a lot of stuff getting knocked down from the whatever's been eaten stuff out here. This was all Scabiosa that I planted back in October. It bloomed. I didn't even harvest off of it, but that's lots of seed pods. I might save the seed. And then this is a evening primrose that I just let grow. It's dropped its seed. I'll cut it back because I don't really need it here. Got some rosemary and then just weeds. Oh, that feels like not comfrey. Touching it tells me it's mullein, and that's okay because that's a great herb, and it just showed up here. That's awesome. I don't want it to stay here. Potentially I might dig it up and move it, but I love this herb. It's wonderful. Super soft leaves, and makes a great tea for like sore throats and things like that. Really good for bronchial infections, and it also used to be called the toilet paper plant because these leaves are as soft as velvet. Okay, that's just temporary because when I plant up the rest of this bed, like I don't even know if any of this is going to germinate, but when I plant the rest of this bed, pull out all this stuff and put all the brassicas in, I'm actually going to cover it with hoop and row cover just to keep the rodents out. Okay, so that's it for the late August home garden tour. We'll definitely be doing more stuff here, as well as doing stuff at the potential new property, which I think might get finalized in the next couple of days. So fingers crossed on that. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys are enjoying the end of your summer garden season, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you guys are looking forward to spring. And so I know that's an exciting time too. Thanks again for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.